welcome to those who just arrived for the last and final and most exciting day of our conference, ALD Connect and beyond, as I say, because I think it's really the beyond that we're also focusing on here, and how we want to grow together, learn together. We want to do it with focus upon the diseases we care for and are interested in, but we also want to learn from other diseases, because we don't know where the breakthroughs are going to come from. We don't know whether it's really what we think is the answer is really the answer. And I think this is an opportunity to be process-driven, not product-driven. Let's try not to have necessarily preconceptions about what we think is the answer, but try to be open to opportunities and insights that might be coming from neighboring fields, whether it's at the bench, whether it's at the bedside, whether it's an insight from a patient, whether it's an industry collaborator who has a compound on the shelf, right? He or she is not using. And so I think my pitch would be is that while we are disease-focused and disease-specific and care about that gene we're following up on, there's so much opportunity for crosstalk, right? We care about the same targets, we care about the same nervous system, we want to retain the function in our children, we want to make our spouses walk again, we want to help have a more meaningful life, and let's try and do that together. So I had just a few introductory slides for this scientific session. So while the first day was devoted to infrastructure and governance and how and a lot of what we recognize as what we need in our different work groups to move forward. And yesterday was a lot about what's important to patients and how we can work together with other leukodystrophies. I think now we're going to get to the nitty-gritty of some of the biology. Here's my simple recipe book for how you bring things to the bedside. And I know it's simplistic, but I like to keep it simple because it helps me know where the gaps are. And so what do you need to do to bring therapy forward for a single gene disorder? You need biological insights. You need to know the function of the disease-causing genes. Is this gain of function? Is this loss of function? Is it more complicated than that? And it often is. Have emerging therapeutics been identified? Do we know that there is a therapeutic that can engage with that the mechanism of the disease-causing gene? Is there an ability to correct that dysfunction in a dish, in an animal model, in some other setting? Do we have proof of concept? And then do we know whether, when we give this drug, that it's actually going to reach the central nervous system or the peripheral nervous system, or wherever we want our drug to have an action, to influence function? And then third, but importantly, do we understand the disease course? Do we know enough about natural history? Do we know enough in order to design a trial? Do we know enough about outcome measures? So it's 3 simple steps. What are we waiting for, right? It's easy, no? So that's my pitch. You know, I think a lot of this is today about academia, and so I'm going to present briefly what we've done here at MGH in order to accelerate research. And we've created a Center for Rare Neurological Diseases. We've created a think tank on rare diseases that really helps on a strategic level to discuss across different departments, across different companies, and includes really many different hospitals in the Boston area. And within the center, we have really projects and work products that we're putting into place. And the idea is here to step across different disciplines, across different boundaries, and work together. I mean, who knew that for neurological diseases, many of the breakthroughs in the past few years would come from hem-onc and transplant people, and people actually thinking about, bone marrow, what could be further away from the brain? I mean, I guess Troy's been knowing this for a long time, but a lot of people who work in neurology don't recognize that, and we as a community have to educate that and galvanize people around those kinds of insights. Diseases don't know boundaries. You know, our bodies are integrated systems. We don't work in simple individual disciplines. So the Center for Rare Neurological Diseases really aims to work with everybody, partner with foundations, advocacy groups, NIH, PCORI, industry. And we sit at an interesting space here because here at Mass General we're really between the Broad and MIT and the Center for Human Genetic Research at Mass General. And we have opportunities really to move the gene discoveries that are happening at the Center for Human Genetic Research and at the Broad into a trial realm, and it's really the Neurological Clinical Research Institute, the NCRI here, that runs so many trials for common neurological diseases. We want this to happen now for rare neurological diseases. So our think tank, Mass General, really under the clinical research program, is has members from all departments and different hospitals in the Boston area, and also many industry participants. So that was really important to us, that we were opening the doors to have advice from companies, and I know there's some same principles apply to how we're working in ALD Connect. We want to have all stakeholders at the table to make things move forward, and it's really been tremendous. So these are really high-level discussions that address strategic questions. Where are the gaps? Let us stop all focusing on the same thing that is already largely an understood part of the process, and let's go to where the knowledge gaps are, and what are the opportunities to solve those. So, and within the Center for Rare Neurological Diseases, we then try to accelerate research by taking some of that advice and working on those gaps and moving things from drug development to biomarker neuroimaging to clinical trials. And this is more sort of a boots on the ground effort around specific disease indications. So that, I think, was to set the stage. And I think what we want to do today is we're going to hear about many exciting opportunities in and emerging therapeutics across different leukodystrophies. And I want to just keep this slide in mind as we are hearing about trials or efforts at different stages of this pipeline. You know, some diseases might still be in the process of drug screening, but there are questions around the assay or a missing biomarker. Maybe there's no natural history data, or that we need more natural history data. As we heard yesterday, you can never have enough natural history data. And there might be other diseases where there's a wonderful existing animal model and chemical assays available, but we're missing certain outcome measures for the disease indication that's of interest, or there's no industry partner. So I think it's worthwhile, as we hear about exciting work and we hear about where things are present, also simultaneously to open our minds to where's the gap, what are we actually missing. So I would like people not to just simply present from the perspective of, look at all the wonderful work I've done, which I know, I've brought wonderful people here because I know they've done wonderful work, but tell us, what are you missing? What are you lacking? What is it that you actually need as a next step to bring this to the bedside? Because I think that's where this meeting becomes meaningful, okay? And that's where we can make a difference, and that's what we're here for. We're not here to, you know, I'll just say this for the rest of the day. I think, you know, this community is fantastic. Let's try and go beyond, huh? Okay, thank you. So.